She whispered of forbidden futures. Human desire tempted him on patrol. Boundary lines. The artificial atmosphere of Nexus Station always felt too thin to Cale Durant. 6 years patrolling the human-alien border checkpoint hadn't made the recycled air any easier to breathe, especially during tense diplomatic situations like the one unfolding before him. "Officer Durant," the station commander's voice crackled through his comm unit. "Escort our Lumidian guests to Conference Level 3, and for Star's sake, follow protocol to the letter." Kyle adjusted his regulation gray uniform and straightened his posture. "Understood, Commander." The docking bay doors parted with a mechanical hiss, revealing the Lumidian delegation. Cale had encountered their kind before, tall, lithe beings with skin tones ranging from lavender to deep violet, but the woman leading the group commanded attention in a way he'd never experienced. Her skin was a rich purple that seemed to capture and reflect the station's artificial lighting. Silver markings adorned her temples and traced delicate patterns along her neck. When she turned her gaze toward him, Kyle felt a peculiar tightness in his chest. "Officer," she acknowledged with a slight nod. Her voice carried a musical quality like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "I am Diplomatic Envoy Valara Envaran of the Lumidian Convergence." Kyle bowed formally. "Enforcement Officer Cale Durant. Welcome to Nexus Station." As he led the delegation through the station's winding corridors, Kyle maintained a professional distance. Regulations strictly prohibited fraternization with alien dignitaries, for good reason. The Lumidian-Human alliance was barely a decade old, built on fragile treaties after generations of mistrust. "Your station has changed since my last visit," Valara remarked, falling into step beside him. "More austere." "Security upgrades," Cale responded, trying not to notice how her eyes shifted between violet and indigo depending on the lighting. "Recent incidents necessitated adjustments." "Incidents?" She raised an elegant eyebrow. "Your superiors mentioned nothing of incidents." Cale cursed inwardly. "Standard procedures. Nothing concerning your delegation." A small smile played across her lips. "You're an interesting human, Officer Durant. Most of your kind speak too much or too little. You choose your words carefully." Their procession halted at a security checkpoint. As protocol demanded, Kyle conducted the scan himself, rather than delegating to junior officers. When Valara stepped forward, the scanner hummed with unexpected intensity. "Would you remove your outer ceremonial garment?" he asked, professional yet uncomfortable with the request. Without hesitation, she unclasped the shimmering silver robe, revealing a form-fitting diplomatic uniform beneath. Her proximity sent an inexplicable warmth through Cale's body. "Is this satisfactory, officer?" she asked, her voice dropping to a near whisper. The scanner cleared with a soft chime, but Kyle found himself momentarily unable to speak. Their eyes met, and something unspoken passed between them, a recognition, a curiosity, perhaps even a warning. "You may proceed, Envoy Envaran," he finally managed, stepping aside. As she moved past him, her hand brushed against his. Accidental, surely, yet the contact lingered like electricity against his skin. "Perhaps we'll speak again, Officer Durant," she said over her shoulder. "When duty permits." Kyle watched her disappear into the conference chamber, already knowing with absolute certainty that his orderly life had just become dangerously complicated. Forbidden glances. 3 days of diplomatic negotiations had left Cale with a persistent headache and an even more persistent distraction. As the human security liaison to the Lumidian delegation, he found himself constantly in Valara's presence, and each encounter only deepened his fascination. "The trade agreement stipulations are reasonable," Commander Voss was saying to the assembled delegates. "The quarantine protocols for biological materials are non-negotiable." However, from his position along the wall, Kyle observed how Valara leaned forward slightly, her slender fingers tapping a rhythm on the conference table. "The Convergence understands your concerns," she replied, her melodic voice carrying easily across the room. "But our bioluminescent flora loses potency after 15 standard days. Your 30-day protocol renders them worthless." Kyle admired her negotiation skills, firm yet diplomatic. When she glanced his way, he quickly averted his eyes, maintaining his professional demeanor. After the session concluded, Kyle received orders to escort Valara to the botanical gardens, a gesture of goodwill from Station Command. "Officer Durant," she acknowledged as they walked through the curved corridor. "You've been watching me quite intently during these proceedings." Heat rose to his face. "Merely doing my job, Envoy Envarin." "Please," she said, stopping to face him directly. "When we're alone, call me Valara." The botanical garden dome stretched above them, simulating a sunset that cast amber light across her purple skin. They walked among exotic plants from dozens of worlds, conversation flowing more easily with each step. "How did you become an enforcement officer?" she asked, reaching out to touch a luminescent flower that resembled her skin tone. "Family tradition," Kyle admitted. 3 generations of Durant serving the Alliance. Though I sometimes wonder what life might have been if I'd chosen differently. Such as? Her eyes caught the artificial sunset, turning them a mesmerizing deep violet. "Xenobotany, actually." He gestured to the plants around them. "Understanding different worlds through what grows there." Valara smiled, a genuine expression that transformed her face. A warrior with a scientist's heart. "You continue to surprise me, Kyle." The use of his first name sent an unexpected thrill through him. They had stopped walking, standing close beside a cascading waterfall that provided privacy from security cameras. "Your markings," he said before he could stop himself. "Do they have meaning?" Without warning, she took his hand and guided his fingers to the silver patterns along her temple. "Family lineage," she explained softly. "And life choices." Her skin was warm beneath his fingertips, with a subtle texture unlike anything he had ever felt. Time seemed to freeze as they stood there, too close for professional propriety, too distant for what they both were beginning to desire. "This is unwise," Kale whispered, though he didn't pull his hand away. "Wisdom and desire rarely walk the same path," Valara replied, her eyes holding his. "I'm scheduled to depart in 5 days. What harm is there in simply talking?" As the artificial night cycle began, casting the garden in soft blue illumination, Kyle knew she was offering more than conversation. And despite every regulation, every warning, every potential consequence, he couldn't bring himself to refuse. "Midnight rendezvous. Access granted. Officer Durant," announced the computer as Kale entered the restricted observation deck. The circular chamber was technically reserved for senior staff, but Kale's security clearance had its advantages. Through the transparent dome ceiling, the vast expanse of space stretched infinitely, stars scattered like diamonds across black velvet. Valara was already there, her silhouette outlined against the starscape. She had abandoned her formal diplomatic attire for a simpler garment that flowed around her like liquid silver. "I wasn't certain you would come," she said without turning. Kyle approached slowly, heart racing. "I told myself I was just checking security protocols." Now she turned, amusement dancing in her eyes. "And is that why you disabled the surveillance in this sector for the next hour?" "A routine system maintenance," he replied with the ghost of a smile. For a moment they simply regarded each other, the space between them charged with unspoken possibilities. "Your people fear us," Valara finally said, moving closer. "They see our differences and create distance." "Not all of us," Kyle responded, closing the gap between them. "Some of us are curious." "Curious?" She tilted her head, the starlight catching the silver markings on her skin. "Is that what you call this tension between us?" His pulse quickened as she reached up, her fingers tracing the line of his jaw. Her touch left a tingling sensation that was both foreign and intoxicating. "On my world," she whispered, "we believe that souls recognize each other across lifetimes, across species. Some connections transcend physical forms." Kyle caught her hand in his, studying the contrast between her purple skin and his tanned complexion. "And what does your world say about forbidden connections?" "That they are often the most profound." Her eyes, now a deep amethyst in the starlight, held his gaze unflinchingly. Something broke inside Kale, the last remnant of his professional restraint. He pulled her close, one hand sliding around her waist while the other cradled the back of her neck. Their lips met, tentatively at first, then with growing hunger. Her mouth tasted of something sweet and exotic, like berries with a hint of spice. As their bodies pressed together, Kyle felt a subtle vibration emanating from her skin, as if her very cells were resonating with pleasure. Valara's hands explored his shoulders, his chest, leaving trails of warmth wherever she touched. When they finally broke the kiss, both were breathing heavily. "Your people," she murmured against his neck. "Have they told you what happens when Lumidians experience intense emotion?" As if in answer, the silver markings on her skin began to glow softly, pulsing with the rhythm of her heartbeat. Kyle stared in wonder as patterns of light danced across her purple skin. "Beautiful," he breathed, tracing the luminescent lines with his fingertips. They sank together onto the observation deck's cushioned seating area, bodies entwined as they explored each other with increasing urgency. Uniforms and garments were discarded, revealing more differences and surprising similarities. "We shouldn't," Kyle whispered, even as his hands caressed the curve of her hips. "We already are," Valara replied, guiding his touch to where she wanted it most. Against the backdrop of infinite stars. They created their own universe, one where borders, species and regulations ceased to matter. Only connection remained, primal and perfect in its intensity. Later, as they lay together watching a distant nebula bloom purple and blue across the viewport, Kale realized with startling clarity that nothing would ever be the same again. Divided loyalties, unauthorized data transfer detected in Diplomatic Wing B, announced the automated security alert, jolting Kale from his thoughts. 3 nights of secret rendezvous with Valara had left him simultaneously exhausted and invigorated. Their stolen moments in the observation deck had become the center of his universe, a dangerous shift in priorities for someone in his position. Durant. "Report to command immediately," barked Commander Voss through the comm. When Kale arrived, the command center was buzzing with unusual activity. Screens displayed security footage, data logs, and communication records. Someone accessed classified Alliance defense protocols, Voss stated bluntly. Preliminary traces point to the Lumidian delegation's quarters. Kyle's blood ran cold. "Sir, that's unlikely. Their activities have been closely monitored. Not closely enough, apparently." Voss thrust a datapad into Kale's hands. The breach originated from Envoy Environ's personal terminal at 200 hours. The timing coincided with their meeting in the observation deck. Valara couldn't have been responsible, unless she had programmed an automated system before leaving her quarters. "I want you to question her," Voss continued. "You've established rapport with the delegation. They trust you. Trust." The word struck Kale like a physical blow. "Sir, perhaps another officer would be more appropriate, given my—" "That's an order, Durant." Voss's eyes narrowed. "Is there a reason you're hesitating?" Kale straightened his posture. "No, sir. I'll handle it." Finding Valara alone proved difficult. When he finally cornered her in a secluded corridor, her expression shifted from pleasure at seeing him to concern. "You look troubled," she said. Reaching for his hand, Kale stepped back, maintaining professional distance. "There's been a security breach. Classified defense information was accessed from your quarters during the night cycle." Understanding dawned in her eyes. "When I was with you?" "Yes. And now you're questioning where my loyalties lie." Her voice carried a new edge. "I need to know if you've shared access codes with anyone in your delegation," Kyle said, hating every word. "Or if you programmed an automated system before our meeting." Anger flashed across her features, turning her eyes a stormy indigo. "So these past nights meant nothing? One security alert and you immediately suspect me?" "I'm doing my job," Kale insisted, though the words sounded hollow even to him. "Your job." Valara's markings pulsed with agitation. "Tell me, Officer Durant, was seducing me part of your duty as well? A convenient way to keep the alien diplomat distracted. The accusation stung because it mirrored his own unspoken fears. That's not fair, isn't it? Perhaps I should question where your loyalties lie." She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "When you held me in your arms, when your body joined with mine beneath the stars, were you thinking of security protocols and defense systems?" Kale's resolve wavered. "Valara, please. I need to verify—" "You need to decide," she interrupted, "whether what we shared was real or merely a convenient arrangement. Because I cannot, will not, open myself to someone who sees me as a potential threat first and a person second. Before he could respond, his comm unit buzzed. "Durant, update requested," came Voss's impatient voice. Valara's expression hardened. "Go, report to your commander. Tell him whatever you need to maintain your precious career." As she turned to leave, Kyle caught her wrist. "Wait, I don't believe you're involved." "But you had to ask," she replied softly, pulling free from his grasp. "That's enough." Watching her walk away, Kyle felt something breaking inside him. He had 48 hours to solve this mystery before the diplomatic summit concluded. 48 hours to choose between duty and desire, and live with the consequences. Stars-aligned rain fell against the station's external hull, creating a soothing rhythm in the otherwise silent corridor. Kale stood before the door to Valara's quarters, his decision made after 3 sleepless nights of investigation. The security breach had been traced to Lieutenant Mercer, a junior officer with gambling debts and Centaurian separatist sympathies. Mercer had used Valara's terminal while she was away precisely because suspicion would fall on the Lumidian delegation. Kyle pressed the notification panel, wondering if she would even agree to see him. When the door slid open, Valara stood before him, already dressed in her ceremonial departure robes. "The Lumidian transport leaves in 2 hours," she said, her voice carefully neutral. "I know," Kale held out a data crystal. "This contains my formal report clearing you and your delegation of any involvement in the security breach." She accepted it without examining the contents. "You did your duty. Is that why you've come? For absolution?" "No." Kyle stepped forward, crossing the threshold into her quarters. "I came to apologize and to tell you something important." The door closed behind him, sealing them in privacy. Valara's quarters were already mostly bare, her few personal items packed for departure. "I've requested a transfer," he said simply, "to the Lumidian Human Cultural Exchange Program." Surprise registered on her face. "Your career means nothing compared to what I've discovered these past days." Kyle moved closer, relieved when she didn't back away. "Not just about us, but about myself. About what matters." Valara's expression softened slightly. "And what matters, Kale Durant?" "Truth. Connection." He reached for her hand, grateful when she allowed the contact. "The feeling I get when I'm with you, like I've found something I didn't know I was searching for." Her markings began to pulse softly, betraying her emotion despite her composed expression. "Such pretty words. How do I know they're sincere?" Instead of answering with words, Kyle withdrew a second data crystal from his pocket. "This contains my application to study Lumidian culture and biology at your Central Academy. I submitted it before clearing your name. You would leave everything behind?" Her eyes searched his face for deception. "Your world, your career, your people?" "I'm not leaving anything behind," Kyle said firmly. "I'm moving forward toward something greater than arbitrary boundaries." The tension between them shimmered, and then broke as Valara stepped into his embrace. Her body fit against his perfectly, as if designed as his complement. When their lips met, the silver markings along her skin brightened, casting them both in a gentle glow. "My people have a tradition," she murmured against his mouth. "When we find our heart's counterpart, we share a binding ritual beneath twin moons." Kyle smiled. "Your world has 2 moons. Earth has one." "Perhaps," Valara replied, tracing the line of his jaw with her fingertip. "That means we are meant to create something new together. Not fully of either world, but uniquely our own." As the departure announcement echoed through the station, they remained entwined, making plans that defied conventional wisdom, but honored a deeper truth. 6 months later, on a terraformed Lumidian colony world, Kyle stood beside Valara beneath twin moons. Representatives from both species gathered to witness their binding ceremony, a controversial but increasingly accepted union that symbolized new possibilities. "Some call us pioneers," Valara whispered, as they exchanged ceremonial bracelets. "Others call us traitors. And what do you call us?" Kyle asked, his fingers intertwining with hers. Her markings glowed with an intensity he had never seen before, bathing them both in silvery light. "Inevitable," she answered, as the stars above them seemed to pulse in agreement. "As inevitable as the alignment of stars." Their kiss sealed more than a personal bond. It represented a bridge between worlds, a promise that differences could become strengths rather than divisions. And as the assembled witnesses erupted in celebration, Kale knew with perfect clarity that sometimes the greatest act of duty was following one's heart across the stars.